Alright guys, TJHaLy here, back again today. Not sure exactly what day this is going to be uploaded, but today we're going to be talking about who I think is going to walk home with the trophy at the CWL Call of Duty World League Championship, whatever. The World Champs, CoD Championships, I don't even know what to call it anymore. What do they even call it? I don't know. CWL Championships, I think they're going to call it. Whatever. Today we're going to be talking about that. I'm sure you guys will have your thoughts in the comment section below. Of course, this is the biggest event of the year. The prize pool is $2 million. It's a massive deal. It's the culmination of the entire season. When you look back on previous seasons, you may not remember who won a lot of the tournaments, but you will always remember who won the Call of Duty World Championship. Now, we know that last season, World War II, Evil Geniuses walked home with a very surprising trophy. Of course, Aches, Apathy, Assault and Silly, Coach Bevels walked home with the trophy. A miraculous performance for them. Not something a lot of people saw coming. So we know that in the past, World Championships have been unexpected and have had unexpected results. Teams like OpTic Gaming and Advanced Warfare Black Ops 3 have gone in as clear favourites and it hasn't worked out well for them at all. Whether something similar will happen this time is difficult to say because there really aren't too many clear favourites. That's what I think is so exciting about this championship, is that there are so many teams, I think, that could potentially win. And that's what we're going to get into today. I did go through a few days ago, or maybe yesterday, depending on when this goes live, my predictions for the bracket play at the World Championship. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll link it down below. And yeah, you guys can go and check out and make your own bracket if you would like, down in the description box below, where I will link this spreadsheet. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy the video. Like if you do, subscribe if you are new as always. This very briefly is the schedule here. So that was actually Thursday's schedule. This is Wednesday's. So whether this is today, tomorrow, in a few days' time, this is what we're looking at for the first couple of days. So 10 AM Pacific time, 1 PM Eastern time, 6 PM British Summer time. This is what you're looking at for the early matches. If you don't know how Champs works, if you guys are just stumbling across this video, never watched the World Championship before, 32 teams are there. The 16 teams from the Pro League, 16 best teams from the amateur division that came in the top 16 at CWL Miami in the amateur bracket. Those teams are placed into 8 pools of 4 teams. The teams will play a single round robin matchup. There's tiebreakers that could potentially go down. The top 2 teams progress onto the main tournament, which goes on the Friday, Saturday and Sunday. The first 2 days are just pool play. The last 3 days are just bracket play. The biggest tournament of the year, the biggest prize pool of the year. This is where you make your money. This is where you etch your name into Call of Duty history. Damn inspiring, huh? So let's move onwards. So these are the matches. If you guys want to pause, you guys got a particular favorite team, have a look at exactly who they're facing. This is the Wednesday games, finishing off with Reciprocity Envy as probably the star matchup here, and then of course Thursday, Luminosity UYU, other big matchups, and of course to end the day we have the very spicy indeed, I feel like, OpTic Gaming versus Evil Geniuses, which could be a very, very spicy one indeed. So these are 24 teams, actually there's not 24, there's 21 teams. I'll leave this link to the Gamepedia page down below if you guys want to check it out. So these aren't the entire 32 teams of the World Championship, and I can't really fit them all on one screen, but I do feel like on this page are the only teams that have a realistic shot of winning the World Championship. In previous years, we've said that it's difficult to say favourites. Like last year, we were talking about, okay, maybe Rise, TK, OpTic Gaming always have an outside chance, so much talent on that squad. There was other teams who were considering to potentially be in the mix of the World Championship. Evil Geniuses came out of nowhere and, well, they'd come second a couple of events prior to Rise Nation at CWL Seattle, but, we weren't really expecting them to come out with an absolute clinic at the World Championship, especially given TK had just won Stage 2 playoffs. Now, this time around, E United have just won the playoffs just a couple of weeks prior, and it's very rare indeed, honestly, that a team will win the playoffs just before Champs and then go on to win the World Championships as well. The only time it happened was in 2017 when the OpTic Gaming Dynasty team, Karma, Crimsix, Formal, Scump, won Stage 2 playoffs in comfortable fashion over Envy. Then they played Envy once again in the World Championship Grand Final and beat them there as well. So, that's the only time it's been won back-to-back. Whether United can do it again is very difficult, but I do think they probably come into this tournament as favourites. And you guys, I'm sure, will leave your thoughts on that down in the comment section below, who you think has a chance to win. Many other teams have been in and around there this year and have been competitive at different times. Let's go through that. So moving on to this picture right here. I've rung the teams that I think effectively have a chance of winning, that I can see potentially lifting the trophy at the end of the weekend and putting on those 5 World Championship rings. So these are the teams I consider it to be possible for, which is honestly a lot. Like, there's 9 teams right here that I've circled. A few of them I think definitely have much more chances than some other ones, but there are some teams here, the likes of Splice, for example, and maybe I'll just start with them. They have not looked good so far. They've brought Hook into the team. They have on paper a very, very scary squad, a very deadly SMG line especially as well. Jerd maybe hasn't been performing as well as of late, as of, you know, some of the other guys maybe dropped off the pace. But Looney is known to really get the best out of his teammates. It hasn't worked out so far. Difficult to say whether they will be able to put together a run at champs, but I feel like looking at the names on this team, there's always that opportunity, especially given how SMG dominated the meta is. I feel like Splice on their day can probably mix it up with any team in the entire game. We just haven't seen it so far, which makes it difficult to say that they're going to do especially well, but I feel like the opportunity with Splice is always there, and they could be a potential dark horse. For me, there's a couple of dark horses in this tournament. You've got the likes of Splice, who I think are a real outsider. I think the one of their issues they're going to have is they don't have a good boot camp going on pre-champs, which means, as far as I'm aware, which means that they won't get the best practice against the top competition, which will mean they'll really have to, you know, bring their way into the tournament as it progresses, which I think gives them less of an opportunity, but you just never know. Another dark horse is probably Team Reciprocity. I predicted them in that video I did a couple of days ago to come 4th in the tournament, but that does rely on them probably winning a fair few game 5s and having absolutely stellar performances still out of Dylan, because the rest of the team is very talented for sure, but it's Dylan is that guy who will single-handedly win you a map and potentially even win you a series against the lesser opposition. Against the best opposition, he's going to need much more from his teammates, but I think that is possible, and on their day, especially with the good practice they seem to have been having, I'm pretty confident Reciprocity can do well. Whether they can win the championship, I think is difficult to say. Just because, you know, these guys' experience. Have they made grand finals before? Have they, like, done it before all the way to the distance? You know, not really. And, yes, they've gone relatively deep in tournaments last year. You know, Wiskin, Zed, Alex, and Shawnee, I think. Obviously, Shawnee no longer on the team. He's on the boys. But I think they came top 4 at one of the events last year in World War II. I forget exactly which one it was. But, you know, they've done it before, but have they really made it the full distance? No, which really makes it questionable for me to say that these guys can actually go the whole way and lift the trophy, which is why I put them in a similar kind of category to Spice, even though I think they're very, very talented and have a good shot. Evil Geniuses is another team that I'm going to put out here because, yes, they did win the World Championship last year. The only remaining player from that team now is Apathy, but Apathy has made the last 3 in a row World Championship Grand Finals. Black Ops 3, he won it. World War II, he won it. In between, Infinite Warfare, he made the Grand Finals. JCap is also a 2-time Call of Duty World Champion. Attach has won it before as well. Accuracy is a legendary player. We know that, you know, he's the Iceman after TJ, the other Iceman, I guess. He doesn't get nervous. Exotic is probably the guy that maybe you're slightly worried for, whether he can perform at this event, considering he really didn't have the best Miami. But Evil Geniuses have been known to mix it up. They've gone game 5s with a lot of the very good teams so far this season, and I feel like a lot of their results this season have been worse than how their actual team deserves. So I feel like Evil Genius is a team you have to keep your eye on here. They're playing OpTic Gaming in pools. Once again, OpTic versus EG in pools. If they can make it out, they're going to have a difficult run. I think it's going to come down to game 5s. But we know how good Attach and Accuracy are, especially in their Search and Destroys. Apathy always plays very well at the World Champs. We know that JCap's done it all before. And I think the team as a whole, honestly, can be very, very good. So I think that they have a very decent chance of putting together a run here. I would consider Evil Geniuses with an outside shot of going the distance. I feel like if they do find themselves in a grand final, they honestly have a decent chance of taking it home because pretty much all of them have done it all before, which I think is a key factor to consider here when we're looking at the World Championships. And that's why I feel like I'm still considering E United favourites, and that they've just done it a couple of weeks ago. Clayster has finally got over that hump. Simp and Abizi have got a trophy under their belt. Arstees and Pristini have got their first trophy since all the way back in Infinite Warfare. So that's why I feel like they stand a great chance. But Evil Geniuses, I would keep your eyes on them. OpTic OpTic Gaming, another team to consider. You really cannot count these guys out. Legendary names, legendary players. They have had some role switches here. Karma's going to be going on to a Sorg. Of course, you've always got Dashy, who's considered, you know, definitely for good reason, one of the most talented players in the game, or maybe one of the most talented players that we've ever really seen in Call of Duty. Obviously, he needs more time to rise up the ranks of the best players ever, but of course, unbelievably talented. If these guys can put together a run, it's honestly, it's been done before by these kind of players. They won the first tournament of the year all the way back at CWL Vegas. So I think there's a chance they do something. Difficult to say that they will, though. I don't really think that OpTic are as good as they have been in previous years. I think that they may struggle, to be honest, here to some degree against the best competition in the world. Their teamwork has really not looked great in quite a while. I think there's too many good teams right now for me to predict OpTic to do that well at this tournament. But of course, they've always got a chance. As I say, like the composure, the championship level caliber of players, they all have that in spades. So I think there's a chance. I just don't think it's overwhelmingly likely. Let's go on to 100 Thieves. They've won 2 tournaments this year. Probably the best team of the year when you look at it on the whole. They've had good results, you know, at least so far in 2019, let's put it that way, since they made the Priestahh change. My perception is that I'm not sure these guys will be able to put it together in this new SMG meta. They could bounce right back to being one of the most, you know, deadly teams in the game. I think they certainly are one of the most deadly teams in the game, but their SMG line is maybe not as strong as some of the other ones we're seeing. They've got fantastic players. They've got fantastic players that have done it all before. They've got the likes of Slasher, you know, a former world champion for sure. But apart from that, we don't have any other world champions on this team. Whether they'll be able to get their first ring is debatable in my opinion. I've rung 100 Thieves in red here because I think they are one of the teams that has like one of the top 4 chances to do well. But I wouldn't be that surprised if they end up falling in a game 5 to one of the other very strong teams we have here. Luminosity I've rung in blue, just like Reciprocity and OpTic, because I don't think they're an incredibly outside chance like maybe Spice and Evil Geniuses are, or at least maybe Spice and EG are outside chances in terms of what people's perceptions are going in. I think that people have more faith in LG. Once again, though, in a similar boat to 100 Thieves, I think that a lot of the time nowadays, it seems to be based on how your SMGs are performing. If Slacked and John play well, we know that John has played very well in the past, especially towards the end of the year. If those guys play well, I think LG can win the championship for sure. But we saw what happened at Miami, where they played well in their first couple of matches. They did well. And then down the line, when it was only really formal Bracken Skies turning up and Slacked and John weren't doing it so much, they definitely didn't look as scary of a team. So on paper, this team looks pretty damn nice, but I don't really think they have that great of a chance to go the whole way. But they have done it against many other teams that we're looking at here. They've definitely got the potential to beat any of these teams on their given day, and I genuinely think that they have a chance to win. I just don't think it's particularly great, like the likes of 100 Thieves, FaZe, Gen.G, and E-United. So of course, E-United, Gen.G, and FaZe are probably the 3 favourites for this event. They looked fantastic at Miami. FaZe looked unbeatable, to be honest, at times the first couple of days. Didn't work out for them on Sunday. If they can put it together here, of course, they've got a great analyst and coaching staff around them. The likes of RJ the Sloth Bear, Easy Mac as well, of course, doing their analyst work. Apparently their scrims have been going great, you know, and of course, to some degree, because there's a couple of guys from the UK here, I would like them to do well. I also think the team meshes very nicely and has great vibes. The SMGs are slightly different in terms of they're not complete superstars, but they do an excellent job setting up the rest of their squad, and they play at a very fast pace as well. So I think FaZe have a good chance here. Gen.G, of course, are another squad that has to be looked at. They've made a couple of grand finals so far this year, back to back, I think, because, well, they didn't make it to London, but they made grand finals at Anaheim and then again at Miami. So, of course, not the best results from them in the last couple of tournaments, at least from their perspective. Maybe they have blown their chance at it, but of course, we know how good these guys' teamwork is. We know how good their SMGs are. You know, Havok and Envoy, we know how good their S&D is as well at times. So, of course, Gen.G have to be considered championship contenders here. I think they'll probably will be right up there again, but I wouldn't be surprised if they fall short. I do think that these guys, again, the championship caliber, the composure under pressure has been an issue for them so far this year. Yes, they have the experience to bounce back on from Miami, from Anaheim, of making it to the grand finals and ending up losing the tournament, which is not, of course, what you want. But once you have too many of those situations, probably you're going to get to a point of mental resilience, to the point where you can bounce back very nicely and take a world championship. Whether it will happen this time, I'm not convinced. I think maybe they'll fall short again and come third or something like that. I feel like E-United and FaZe are going to be the grand finalists, but that is just from a perspective before the tournament's even begun. Maybe upsets will happen. Maybe E-United will go out in top 24 like OpTic did last year. Who knows exactly what's going to happen? But yeah, leave all your thoughts down on this in the comment section below. I'd be greatly interested to hear them. Like if you guys enjoyed, enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new as always. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will see you next time.